We have panelists who have films here at the Black Harvest Festival to talk about filmmaking, their experiences about making their pictures, with one exception. And I'll get to that in a minute. But he's important because he's got some important information for you. And also, I just want to let you know that this is being taped for CAN TV, public access. So if anybody here is wanted by the police or creditors, be sure. Just want to let you know you are being recorded. So, boy, but I want to introduce the filmmakers. I'll start from the end here and goes towards the end. On the end here, we have Lydia Darley, who is the film director of The Way You Love, which was screened last night, and also on opening night.
Yes.
Next to her is Cy Weissman, who is the producer and writer and assistant director of The Fourth Meeting, feature film which we showed last week. And next to her is Josh McNeil, who is the director of the film. They have an absolutely great story about the making of the movie. Both of them are local filmmakers. Next to Josh is Derek Dow, who is the director of the controversial movie Condoms. In joke. And then next to him is Tony Williams. Now, Tony is a little special. We've never done this before. Tony's film is not in Black Harvest. It will be next year. But we are going to see a clip from the movie. And I won't tell you about it. He'll explain it. And I think it's a movie that is going to be really talked about next year. I think it's the right film at the right time. And the reason why he's on the panel is, number one, I wanted the movie so much, I'll show a 5-minute clip. just so I can say it was at the festival. And number two, he's got some really important information about, he'll get into that. Try to put it, it's complex, but it benefits all filmmakers here in the state of Illinois. So I want to start off first with a very, very simple yet complex question in that, I'll start with Lydia first. Tell us simply in 30 words or less. No. About your movie, how'd you come up with the idea for your movie, for your film?
Can you hear me? Yes. It was a conversation basically I had with a friend of mine and many female friend of mine, and I just felt the urge to write it down. I didn't know where this thing would go when I started writing it. I just put it on paper. So that's how I started.
Come on.
And then, it was just development. I started by writing a monologue first. And I'm part of this community in New York called the Lab New York, where we meet with writers, directors, actors every Tuesday. And each time I was going, every week I was bringing a little bit of writing until the thing just started to grow and started developing the other character. And, pages until I had pretty much 14, 15 pages. And everybody loved the script, and they were like, "You should do a short film." I mean, this is my first short film. I'm an actress, so but like I was saying to Sergio yesterday, I started writing because I got frustrated as an actress. Not I was getting any job at all. So and I came to New York. I'm from France. I came to New York to become an actress. And then time was passing by and nothing was really happening. I was doing the little things and I got really frustrated. So writing was really a way for me to stay creative and put all my frustration on paper, basically. I never thought 2 years ago that I would be doing a film. I would be directing a film. I never thought that. It just happened. I continued writing, and actually I wrote the part of the older actress for myself because I wanted to do it basically. And then while we started developing, my producer told me, when we thought about doing the film. She was like, okay, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna play the part or are you gonna direct it? I was like, oh, I'm gonna do both. And she was like, no. She was like, you have to make a choice here. So I decided to go behind the camera and direct. So that's how pretty much it started for me.
How did you? Let me put it you this way: when you decided to direct the movie, um, did you think that? Well, how can I phrase this? Because that's a big decision. That's a huge decision to decide, I'm going to direct this myself instead of trusting it to somebody else. And you talked about it earlier. You had an earlier film that you had someone direct and it turned out the way it did. So what gave you the confidence to say that I know I can pull this off? Even if a short film is still a film, it's still difficult.
Definitely.
So what made you say that I can do this?
Well, it wasn't really me saying that. It was the people around me saying that. So I was like, okay, because I'm part of this community, and I think in filmmaking, it's really important to have a support system, because obviously you cannot do it all by yourself. So I was very lucky to be surrounded with really great people who believed in me more than I believed in myself. For me, it was like a major. I'm like, directing. I never did that. I mean, even if I'm an actress, it's totally different. But yeah, I got pushed. I really got lucky and pushed by people who were saying you have to do it. You need to make something happen for yourself. So I basically found myself in a position of, okay, let's do it. Let's see what I'm gonna come up with. I found out actually I'm not very good with camera. I don't know anything about camera, really, to tell you the truth. I know the red and but only technical things I have no clue. So I was like, am I gonna do it? Everyone like, don't worry about this. There's a cinematographer and they know what they're doing. But I found out that I really like working with actors. That was where my strong point was, because being an actress myself, for me, the whole process of casting, the whole process of, doing the reading of the script and developing with the actors, and, that was the most amazing experience for me. And I was like, okay, I can do that. And of course, when you're on set, it's different, but I feel like a little bit of preparation. And of course, I read a lot of books, and I had to just teach myself. I mean, I had to, that's what I did. I teach myself, and I was, looking at other people, what they were doing. That's how I taught myself, because I didn't do film school. I didn't. I did acting school. So, and that's two different things. But the motivation, I really, really wanted to make something happen, because nothing was happening. So you're like, okay, you have to make something happen no matter what. And I really wanted to make a film of quality. I wanted to shoot with a great camera, so we shot with the red, and it just community, courage. I would say a lot of courage, because you just have so many doubts about yourself, and just go for it. That I always like encourage people. They're like, I want to make a film. Like, just do it, and you're gonna make mistake. You're gonna you're gonna see the things that you go say, oh, I would have done that. But the fact that you taking the courage to do the first step and make it happen, that's everything you need. It's like, it's everything.
That's it. So thanks. Bye. You explained it all. I want to move over to Josh and Sai. Your film, The Fourth Meeting, is your first movie, feature film, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your first film, period, I believe.
Yes.
Tell the story, because when you told me the story about what the budget was and how long it took to shoot, and the fact that, Josh, how old are you now?
20.
20. And you made the film when you were 19.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something which you told me you had to keep secret from the actors.
Yes.
Just explain the process of how you got the idea to make your feature, and what gave you the courage to say, we can pull this off.
I suppose, I guess prior to filmmaking, I always wanted to do filmmaking, but I never had the resources, cameras, things like that. In high school, there were no film courses. It was just photography and writing. So I put all my effort towards photography and writing, and I developed a strong skill set there. So after I graduated during my first semester at school, I was like, okay, I get to make a short. And so I asked some friends what would interest them theme wise or storylines and things like that. And one of my friends brought up the concept of survivor's guilt, and that developed into a basic outline, really, which is the first 10 minutes of the fourth meeting. From there, I was planning on shooting a short. And more research I did on filmmakers and famous filmmakers, just filmmakers I knew personally after grad school or undergraduate, whichever they decide when they go about making their first feature. They typically finance it themselves. They take out loans, they max out credit cards, and they go into debt making this feature film, hoping that something will go with it. I'm not very economic. I'm not good with money, and I knew ahead of time that I wasn't going to go into debt for it because I would never get out of it. And the whole idea, because you go into debt, because in school you have all these resources, you have equipment, software, you have a community to go to expand and learn from, ask questions, and you'll get answers. So that whole environment, once you graduate, it's gone. You don't get free equipment. You have to rent all your lighting. You have to rent all your camera. You have to pay for everything. And that's what the maxing out credit cards things happen. So I felt that since I was in school right now, I had all these resources. Instead of going to debt, I'll just do it now. It was extremely naive, but I was like, okay, we can do it now. So I was talking with Sai, who's my sister, and she's a writer. And I gave her the basic outline of the first 10 minutes, and we developed it, and then she wrote the screenplay for the fourth meeting during my first semester. And should I keep going on how this all came about? Okay. So I was 18 at the time, and so we had the screenplay, and then we went into pre-production. As I said, I had no formal education on filmmaking at this time, so I had no idea about scheduling and budgeting. So we were just sitting down like, reading the script. I think we can shoot this movie in 6 days, and I think $4,000 is a good amount of money. So we had all that. So we had the $4,000 so in mind. So we did Kickstarter, and the biggest thing that people don't tell you about Kickstarter is that they make it seem like people outside of your sphere are going to be giving you money. In reality, you're just asking every single person you know and hoping that they give you money. So it's really just coming from friends and family. So we raised $3,500, and a lot of money came out of our pocket to finish the film, but so it came out to like $4,000, which was the budget. So we raised the money, we held auditions, and we
had rehearsal after that.
Yeah, we had a rehearsal after that. So during my first semester, we had all of pre-production. Then my second semester, we went into production. We shot the film and we edited it. So we shot it in 6 days. We only had $4,000, and we managed to pull it off. It was extremely stressful, by far the most stressful time of my life. I'm expecting many filmmakers are here, and as you know, you probably shoot 2 scenes a day, 3 at the max. And that's a busy day. We had to shoot 12 scenes a day. Actors only were able to have 1 to 2 takes. We had to keep going because we didn't have time. We scattered out 6 days. We only had $4,000. We didn't know anybody going into the process. We didn't know any of the crew or the cast. We had to find these people, so they're all strangers to us. So they weren't going to do a favor for us, like, oh, we scheduled 6 days. How about we expand this to 10? No, we would have to pay them. And we didn't have the money to do that, so we had to work extremely diligently. And many problems happened, but we had the dedication of the cast and crew, and we managed to complete the movie in 6 days, and then we edited the rest.
Did you have a production schedule when you started?
Oh yeah. Well, we still just didn't have our ideas of still, like you said, of how long it would take to light a scene were off. You know, it probably took twice as long as what we would initially thought. But we had, a production schedule. He had the shot sheets for his DP to use. You know, we had everything in place. We just really didn't have a good sense of time and how long it would take for setup and everything. We knew how long it would take the actors to do their scenes because we did rehearsals and we like really nailed it in rehearsals, so it made it easy when it came down for the actors to just do their lines. But it was the setup and breakdown that we didn't realize would take so much time. And then just you have to plan for something to go wrong because something will go wrong. It always goes wrong.
So yeah.
No, but you wouldn't necessarily recommend your method to other filmmakers, would you?
No. Well,
Or is
would
it
never-
just like you do whatever you got to do to get the film made?
well, I would. The great thing about making the movie is that we were under impossible circumstances, and we managed to pull it off. But by doing that, it made us extremely efficient and diligent at understanding filmmaking to the bare minimum. So any problem in the future that comes up, we will be able to fix it. I can't imagine any type of major problem, any movie forward that we won't able to troubleshoot because we've went through everything with the fourth meeting. Going off of what Sai was talking about with breakdowns is that the biggest eye-opening thing is that, I thought they set up the wide shot and that was it. It's like, no, every time you move the camera, you have to change the lighting. So it was constantly changing. We're like, well, this is time consuming. We scheduled all these scenes and I don't know how we're going to do it. So we had the lesson takes and luckily the actors nailed it and we were able to move on.
And it still takes a fair amount of creativity on your part. I mean, everybody here has probably learned something technical, but it's still a very creative field. Like, if you don't have the time to, do another breakdown, you have to figure out, well, how can I use what's already set up and to continue with this scene? So it makes you really resourceful, and I think it kind of really heightens you creatively when you're working under those tight constraints, too. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. It's not perfect. It's not ideal. Definitely not. But I wouldn't say it should discourage anybody.
I would say be more reasonable. I would never encourage anybody to do anything, shoot a feature in 6 days. It definitely was by far the most stressful time of my life, and it made post-production extremely stressful with continuity. But so I would encourage people to go out and make a film. Be relatively reasonable, but with whatever you're able to raise, just do it and be extremely diligent and creative about it. Sai and I knew going into that we weren't going to have a lot of money or time. So we initially made a script that would allow us to do something reasonable. So we decided to do a drama. It wasn't going to be some action over-the-top horror movie like it's impossible to shoot in 6 days. So we knew we were going to do a drama. We tried to limit locations the best way that we could, and ironically more locations kept being added on later on, but with the script. But so we tried to really do everything that we could to condense it, the circumstance, to still tell a compelling story, but limit the time and resources that we would have to use to get it done.
I want to move over to Derek, who's a veteran. He has several films under his belt. Like I said, the latest one is Condoms. I don't know if you want to talk about that film in particular or just to talk about your filmmaking experience overall.
Yeah, I'll just talk about overall.
Okay.
I would leave condoms out of it. But no, always use condoms, guys. I just think like Sergio said, I think my feature played here in 2007. That was the first thing I did, and it's so funny when you listen to filmmakers talk because you see so much stuff that you've done like repeated. Like the sister down here said, she decided to make film because she was acting and didn't get the role. I started making film for that same purpose. I kept being the playboy or the drug dealer, and I was like, yeah, this is not gonna work for me, and and started to make Family Values. And it's funny with you guys because you was like $4,000 to make a film. I think mine was like $6,000. And I mean, ensemble cast, didn't know what I was doing, but you persevered, which is like great. So it's like one of those things where now like constantly coming here and doing stuff. I think we're like in a business that's so great because you get to learn so much more about yourself as an individual than just like the stuff you make. Because when I started with drama, because of course with the low money, you got to get it done. And then I expanded to comedy when I went to because I'm a recent graduate of where did I go to school? All right, USC, University of Southern California. I just graduated from their film department with my master's. And yes, you can clap if you want to. I mean, I did just graduate. Thank you. I owe Sally Mae a lot of money. I at least need some claps. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. No, and so I started, when I got there, I was like, I don't want to just keep doing drama. I want to expand my craft. And then I started doing like comedy. And that's when I did This Ain't Your Movie. This Ain't Your Movie, which was opening night in Harvest, I believe, in, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe?
3 years ago?
3 years ago, 2012.
11? Maybe. Go ahead.
12. Yeah. 11, you're right. Yeah. So whatever. So I mean, I don't know. It's so funny because when you like you start off like so like big-eyed and so excited and so like, I can do it. Just go, just get it done, which is great because that's where you should start. And then it's like you have to fight to keep that as like, especially like in LA where I'm seeing, because I live in LA now. So in LA it's like, and I see everybody like constantly trying to make films, and I talk to like one of my colleagues about this every day. You have to be careful as a creator not to like get so full of competition, because we are competing, but it's nobody to compete with but yourself. But you know, because you're there, and it's like, and it's, I think like in our program is maybe like 12 black people or something like that. And so like it's so easy for us to get competitive because it's like they're only gonna let like one black film through that they're gonna pay for. So it's like, no, who's gonna make it? Oh, I need to make it. And then your work suffers. So I mean, like, just I would recommend that you guys never lose that optimism you have. I mean, because reality sets in, so it's stuff that you have to change, of course. But just fight through that, fight to keep that optimism, and then don't compete against anybody but yourself, and just keep trying to raise the bar. So every film I do now is just like, even if it's not perfect, because I mean, they say you're only as good as your last work, but I say you're only as good as when you give up. So as long as you keep going, it's like some films I make, it's like, man, that wasn't as good as my last one. You know, that wasn't as good as my last, but I was trying something different that I wasn't used to. But you have to, because you just want that opportunity that if somebody sees your work, they might say, oh, you know what? Condoms was okay. It struck my attention. I think it was good, but it was something about This Ain't Your Movie. What else can you do? Because I have this script that I need some way to marry this, or it's different. It's a different directing style. Can you do it? And I think just being able to constantly beat at your craft, work at your craft, run at your craft, like attack the craft repeatedly. Beat the craft up, trip it, wrestle it, slam dunk it, whatever. Just makes you just so you can have enough artillery to keep getting better. Because sooner or later, it comes to a point where it's like, all right, we got to take our 5,000 or our 6,000 or whatever, and we got to say, okay, I can't make a feature off of that because, I want to get an agent, or I want to get, somebody to look at me serious. So I need to take that 5 and I need to do the best 5-minute piece that I can come up with. The best, because it's like now it gets to a point where it's past like, I just need my work shown to like, I need to be accountable, and I need them to know that I can do this on a budget at a professional level, and I'm consistent, and I think that's what it is. So I'm just trying to, I think I just, like, overall this time is just to be consistent. And I think I've used Black Harvest kind of as a bar for me. It's like, all right, here's this movie. Let's see if Black Harvest will take it. If Black Harvest will take it, I'll put it in something else. And then I'll just keep doing that. And like some of my movies have been in like 10, 15 festivals. Some have been in 2. Some have seen none, but my mom's seen it and it's good. And, so I just think that's what I've learned, like just constantly beating at it. I think I talked enough.
No, it reminds me of that quote by Robert Aldrich, the director who, did Dirty Dozen and whatever happened to Baby Jane. And someone asked him, what's your theory about filmmaking? And he said, you have to stay in the game. Yeah. He said, it'll be highs, there'll be lows, there'll be times when you give up, but you just have to stay in the game and it will pay off at the end. Mm-hmm. And I always remember that quote by him. Right. Because as a filmmaker, that's what you go through. You go through highs, you go through lows. There are times we said, I'll never make another film again. But you have to stay in the game.
I fell into filmmaking through the back door. I originally was in advertising for many, many years. Got into advertising, eventually was able to start writing some ads, doing some headlines. That turned into directing some commercials, doing some 30-second, 60-second commercials. And then after directing, I really got bit by the production bug. So I would go on these productions of these commercials and just fall in love with what these guys were doing, these directors and these editors. And eventually I figured out the only thing I really liked about advertising was making commercials. So I started doing production myself and selling that production back to ad agencies here in town. And then I finished my first, the commercials turned into longer format, corporate type documentary style films. Every corporation you talk to thinks that their product is the bee's knees and they want a full-length feature film about it, and that keeps the lights on for a lot of filmmakers here in Chicago. So I did that for a while and knew that I wanted to eventually make the jump to feature-length films. But I'm a true believer of go with what you know, do what you can do with what you have at your disposal right then. So for me, that was documentary filmmaking. And so I did my first feature-length documentary in 2011. It was distributed in 2012. And this is my second feature length right now. So we've actually been working on this for about 2 years now, off and on. And hopefully we'll finish it up this year and get it out into the to the zeitgeist. So that's it in a nutshell.
I want to talk about, just you could bring it up. I'll start with Lydia again. Cy and Josh talked about it, but maybe you can go more into detail about it. Of course, the big question is money. Where do you find the money to do your pitches, even for a short film? I know now it's more and more common now to use crowdsourcing, Indiegogo, Kickstarter, that sort of thing. So, but how'd you get the money to make the film? That's always the big question. Okay, I got the script, I'm ready to go, I think. Now all I need is the money. So where did you get the money?
That's what I did. I did the Indiegogo campaign, and it's just I didn't have that kind of money, and we thought that we could shoot with $5,000, but then going on scheduling and production meeting, what I needed for the film, it turned out that we needed more money. But anyway, I did an Indiegogo campaign, and I wanted to raise $8,000. I did not. I raised almost $6,000, and the rest came from my pocket. So that was, when you don't have money, what do you do? I mean, this is the only choice you have, which is actually great. It can feel uncomfortable, you're like, well, I'm gonna ask people for money. But you really want to make your film, and if you do, you do it. If you have no funding, you have no parents to give you money, you have to do what you gotta do. So that's what I did. And
one thing, how do you're basically, when you go on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, you're basically trying to convince strangers to give you money to make your film. What do you do to entice them? I mean, what do you do that makes it, worth their while or interesting? Yeah, you know what? I think it's a good idea to give you $100 or whatever for your movie. How do you go about that? I wouldn't even know how to do that.
Well, I looked a lot at other campaigns. I went online and I looked at Kickstarter, Indiegogo, everything that was out there, and I just started watching other people do their thing. And I was like, how am I going to do mine? I didn't have my actors yet, so it was only me. It was only me basically talking. So a friend of mine who had a camera, she was like, okay, let's do an interview. Let's interview you. So I went to her apartment and we set it up, and she just basically interviewed me. We had like a few questions. And then I just basically talk about myself, who I am, where I'm coming from, why do I want to make this film, why is it important for me, what is the story about, and basically saying thank you for whatever you're gonna give me, even if it's $1, And it worked because I didn't. I mean, sometimes you have the actors, so it's great because you can incorporate them in the video you're making, and that's more people. I'm basically on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. So, but at the time I didn't have my actors yet, so I had to just made it happen. And yeah, it was just videos. And then when she shot this, she gave it to me, and I just edited myself, and I just incorporated pictures and music, and it just, yeah, I made this video, and that's how I did it,
In other words,
basically.
you have to learn. This is part of filmmaking. You have to learn how to sell your product.
Basically,
Marketing.
yes.
It says filmmaking. Marketing is a part of filmmaking.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you have no, I mean, I don't know anybody who's a PR or, publicist, or like, it just came from scratch. It basically came from scratch by seeing other people doing it. And, I'm like, I need to tell them why I want to make this film, and be convincing. I mean, I really talk from the heart because I was like, okay, I'm not going to pretend that I'm somebody that I'm not. So I just say, I'm just going to be myself. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, I will find another way. Anyway, I'm going to make my film because I knew that I really wanted to make it. So that's what I put out there. And you can see, I mean, if you go on YouTube, the video is there. It's not like, wow, the super video, but it's basically me talking. It's me talking.
Johnson side, you have anything else to add about fundraising, the money to make the film?
Well, when you have a small amount of money that I mean, 5,000, 4,000, still a small amount of money, so you're kind of gonna expect to get it within a reasonable amount of time. I think there's even a limit too. You set your limit, on Kickstarter. If you don't make it at that time, I don't know, the world falls apart or something. But since you already have that goal in mind, we had did our auditions already. So we had our actors. Like she said, she didn't have her actors at the time, but we did. So we did a similar type of video where it kind of outlined the story, what it was about, and how people could help. And tried to make it look as professional as possible. We actually used one of our locations to do it. And then, just kind of hoping for the best as well. And then also, just as far as your budget in general, too, lining up how much free stuff you can get. Like, trying to find free locations. And, people who had their own equipment or extra equipment and things like that.
I'm just curious. So your Kickstarter or your Indiegogo thing was in New York then, I'm guessing?
It was,
Yeah.
yes.
So did you get primarily strangers because it's a bigger city? So more people were...
Well, yeah, it was basically my friends that
Okay,
gave
so
me
that's the
money.
same.
I mean, it was coming from everywhere because, I'm from France and I used to live in Italy. And so I just reach out for everybody, I mean, obviously you put it on Facebook, so whoever is your friend on Facebook is going to see your campaign. And I was basically for a month, I set my campaign for a month. I chose Indiegogo because I wanted to get any money I could get, because Kickstarter, if you reach your 30 days or whatever goal you want, if you don't get that money, it's lost.
Yeah, they send it
So
back.
it's like basically you don't get anything. So I was like, there's no way that's gonna happen. So I chose Indiegogo. Obviously the setup is not as nice as Kickstarter. I mean, Kickstarter look like very professional, but I'm like, this is what it is. And I was very aggressive about it. I mean, aggressive in a way that I just didn't just put it out there. Every single day I was on social media. Every single day I was promoting this campaign, and it was a job that I had for 30 days. I couldn't think about anything else, really. I wasn't even thinking about the film. I was like, okay, for 30 days, I did in January last year, that was my work for a month. And each person who was giving me money, $10, $5, I had to I really wanted to thank them. So I was going and searching all the pictures that I had. If I had one picture with them, I was taking that picture, posting it up and say, this person gave me $5 and I'm so happy, which was true. I was like overwhelmed, some people. So you expect some people to give you money and they don't. and the people that you expect the less, they're the one who sometimes give you. So it's really, it's a really experience that was like so. I couldn't believe it. Like I had this guy who gave me $500 out of the blue. I was like, who is this person? You know, and it's just, and then you do private emails and private messages and asking, basically begging people. Some people answer, some people don't. But you have to go through that. It's the process. You know?
I completely agree. Going off of what Linda was saying, it's basically a full-time job. So I was in school full-time working, and then in between classes I was on the computer just messaging every single person I knew. I had like 900 Facebook friends, messaged every single one of them like, can you give me anything, $1, $5, whatever. And you go to everybody that you can, and that's like the big myth. Like with crowdfunding, they make it seem like random people are going to be giving you money. Great. It's really you just hustling and asking every single person that you have come across in your life. Luckily, I built up strong relationships with teachers in the past who believed in me, and they really gave me the bulk of money, like $1,000, $500, because they believed in what we were able to do. So I'm extremely, like, teachers have done great service to me throughout my life, and I love teachers. But so if you're gonna do Kickstarter, just realize you're gonna be asking every single person. You know, it's a full-time job. You're constantly searching for money, and it's hard to get it. And you're under a time constraint, under 30 days, and you're hustling. So that's our experience through Kickstarter is pretty much the same. It's just, it's not like it comes easily.
And for Derek, I mean, since you have several pictures, was it different processes, or you have a group of investors?
Yeah, I
For
wish.
anytime you make a project, you can hit them.
Yeah, they're called girlfriends. No, that's a joke. I'm just joking. No, you know, just different approaches. Some of the approaches they said, I think, just to add on those dollars that come from people that you don't know, that comes from, and if you can't, to help you tap into it, if you ever do it again, it's just finding like resources or finding out who your movie would reach, and then like getting it in front of them, like because his movie is so broad, it's like a lot of like the Comic-Con people, you know, black nerds, any bully sites, you know, any of that can be like, yo, anything, you know, you can get in front, like people who, because they have Google groups for everything, they have blogs for everything. So it's ways to just like maybe throw a little trailer together, a little 2-3 minute trailer, like this is what it is, this is the tone of it, this is the feel of it, and that'll help you get some of that unknown money of people you don't know. I can't argue with the whole, because you're still gonna have to talk to every 900 and some people. So because I've been through that, I've done Indiegogo, because I'm like you, I'm like, I'd rather have $2, you know, than nothing at all. And I have a web series now called Black Man Depressed, and I paid the first season on my own because I wanted to like just show the fans like, listen, I'm not gonna ask you for anything. I'm gonna give you a show, and if you like the show, you can either donate to help me get season 2. I made T-shirts and stuff like that, and I'm finding that is helping a lot, because it's like certain people who are just like, I really want to see season 2. Random don't, and the shirts say Black Man Depressed, so like all my white fans won't buy the shirt. They'll just like, here's $5 because I'm not gonna wear that on the south side of Chicago, you know. So I mean, I think it's just always about like just using these like Kickstarters, like Indiegogos, as starting points, and then figuring out a way to branch out into something that's more your own, like merchandising, like, you know, because those audience members now are I like to call them my family. These are my new family. So just as quickly I can say, Mom, can I get $1? It's like just as quickly I can say, hey fans, if you guys want to see, you know, me do more stuff, I kind of need your help. I also do giveaways. Like sometimes if you're following my Instagram, I might wake up and like, first person who can tell me, you know, what happened on episode 7, I'll send you a free shirt. And people like that, and they start following and they start giving back, you know. Then I'm also in the sneaker culture, so I just find ways to like tie in my life into like sourcing things, because somebody who's just following me for sneakers today will fund one of my movies for something else tomorrow. You know, so it's just because if you don't force it, it's more organic. You know, that's how I feel. And teachers help too. Yes.
And Tony, okay, now you're with Cartemquin. You're on a different level now. But when you started out 2 years ago, you were on your own. So how did you start like raising the money to make your project?
Sure. So in my experience, and to kind of piggyback what Derek was saying is, in my experience, there's basically two major ways to raise money for films, especially if you're not independently wealthy. And those two ways are partnership or investment, or a combination of the two together, right? And when I say partnership, I mean real partnership. And when I say investment, I mean real investment, not just, your mom or your girlfriend or your wife gives you $400 or $500, and that's a gift, really. But partnership or investment really means that if it's a partner, it's someone who is willing to donate time or effort or resources to a project, who may not have cash to put up, but believes in your project enough that they will partner with you. They will help you get this thing done. They will shoot. They will edit. They will do what it takes to help get the film made. And a lot of times, especially beginning filmmakers, and that's what I did on my first one, is I had to partner with a lot of people. And I even partnered with the subject matter. It was about my fraternity. So I partnered with the fraternity to do the film, right? And so that partnership is a whole bunch of people who come together that believe in the film to get it done. And the second, investment, is really, I think, the future of where microloans and micro movies and content creation and the YouTube generation is going. Whereas you really do believe, someone believes, even if it's just yourself. Like Derek said, he put up all the money for his first webisodes. He was investing in his own film. He believed in it enough. But he did it because he hopefully would see a return at the end, or a year or two, or a second season, third season. That's investment. You could have lost it all. You can not have anybody say, I like it at all. That's true investment, where you put up and you risk that capital. Now, I think in the future, a lot of you out here, I would suggest that if you're not a filmmaker or if you're trying to get into film, the very first place I would start is find somebody whose films you like or production team that you like and invest in them. And that's what's called an executive producer. You can become an executive producer tomorrow, today, and put up a few dollars and get involved in the industry right away. But that investment is in the hopes of a return. And I do believe that, when you start out with a film, you have to know how it's going to make money. I really do. Unless you're just, like I said, you're independently wealthy. This is an art project for you. This is school. You're just doing it, just playing to just make art, and that's great. But you have to know where you're going to end before you start. And a lot of times where you're going to end is where you're going to distribute it, where you're going to make your money back, where you're going to pay your investors back, where you're going to pay yourself enough to do this again. Because believe me, if you do this enough times, you don't make any money, you're back to doing whatever it was you were doing right before that, and no more films. And that's no good for anybody, right? And so I would say, like Derek said, I knew that there was a very attainable audience of comic convention people, bully, nerd, the whole genre had a built-in audience that I made the film for. The film before that had a built-in audience of fraternity brothers, right? It didn't go out to very many other people outside of those, but those brothers came around, bought the film, and was off to the races. I would say, if you've got a church or a church group, if you've got youth organizations or whatever the case may be, make a film for an audience before you start making it. It's not as important right now about what you make, is who you make and who you make it for. So, and what I mean by that is this: if you're on the internet, you might see stuff that is crappy, really bad stuff, but it might have 12 million hits, and they have like, for instance, my son is super into Minecraft. And if you look at the top 20 content creators on YouTube, one of them is named Stampy Cat. Now, nobody in here who doesn't play Minecraft doesn't know anything about Stampy Cat. But Stampy Cat used to be a bartender in England. He just moved to L.A. He's now represented by William Morris. He just bought a Bel Air mansion, and he has 20 or 30 million hits per per video that he puts out every day. And he is making a lot of money by just basically playing Minecraft and narrating it for kids. Now, it doesn't look like anything except for somebody sitting there playing Minecraft, narrating it for kids. But my son sits there and watches it for 4 hours a day. So do a lot of his friends, and you extrapolate that out to millions and millions of kids every day. And now, even though the content itself is not groundbreaking, none of us in here would sit there and watch it, it still had an audience. It had a built-in audience. He knew where it was going, and he consistently delivered it to that audience. So in the future, it's not about the content you make, it's the audience you make. Let me say that again. It's not the content you make, it's the audience you make. Because the audience that loves your stuff will always be there for you, no matter what your level of filmmaking is. Yeah, so there you go.
Well, you touched on something. I want to start with Derek. You touched on something 10 years ago when we did this panel. Everybody was talking about trying to get a distribution deal. No one talks about that anymore. That model is gone. It is broken. You know, even the Weinstein Company a few weeks ago said that, you know, video on demand for them has been a big success for them. So what is the model now? I mean, no, does theatrical distribution matter nowadays, or you just don't even think about that now?
Okay, so I don't want if somebody else wants to jump in.
Start. Go ahead.
So with this piece, and I was lucky enough to partner with Kartemquin Films. Again, Kartemquin is a documentary house that of documentary filmmakers is it's creme de la creme. So I was able to partner with them. And again, partnership is somebody coming in who believes in your project, who's willing to invest a little time and effort up front, but it's also a little bit of, investing too, because they want to see a return just like I want to see a return. But when you have people who are willing to get that return on the end, they're vested. They're going to do what they need to do. But anyway, with Kartemquin, our approach is to do all the above. So, a lot of documentary films and a lot of independent films do the film festival circuit first, right? But I think that there's a lot of success amongst independent, really motivated filmmakers to do four-walling. Anybody in here know what four-walling is?
I do.
Sergio, tell them what four-walling is.
Following is basically you rent out the theater,
Yes.
and then whatever they make at the box office you take. That's it.
So, yeah. So, I mean, you guys have all been familiar with, like, promoters, right? Promoter, he's got a crowd of people. He's got a night. He's got a club. He goes there to that club, 400 or 500 people show up. He takes the door, the club takes the bar, there's a split, and he goes out and builds this audience, right? Well, there's this new paradigm shift that's almost a throwback to the early part of the 19th century where there was the Chitlin Circuit. And the Chitlin Circuit was basically a group of clubs that, because these performers like James Brown and Little Richard didn't have white clubs that they can go into and perform in, they would perform in these all-black juke joints all over the Midwest and the South and the East Coast, and they would travel along this circuit called the Chitlin Circuit. But that's how they made the majority of their money. They didn't make a lot of money selling albums. They didn't make a lot of money on the radio. They would get their stuff on the radio, and the DJs would play it and say it was hot, but then they would get booked on the Chitlin Circuit. Well, now, as filmmakers, I see a lot of successful projects where they'll do the film festival circuit to get their name out there, almost like the radio stations, but then they will go four-wall it on the Chitlin Circuit or on the independent circuit, and they'll go to where their audience is. If your audience is churches, you go to churches. If your audience is college kids, you go to colleges. You go four-wall it where your audience is. With us, we're going to do a lot of four walls at comic conventions. We're going to go to cities where we believe there's a lot of black intelligentsia, and we're going to do a lot of four-walling, but that takes your own time, your own promotion, your own team, but it can be done, and it's very lucrative for you. It's very lucrative because Hollywood has already set up a market for you. There are theaters. There are people who have expectations of paying $15, $20, $25 for some premieres. And you have to be able to take advantage of that. Pretty soon, mark my words, 3 years from now, you'll see this all over the place. Half the films that'll be playing at like Icon and Chatham and wherever else will be independent promoted films. There'll be somebody handing out a flyer. Come see my film. Come see my film. Just like everybody's like, come to my Friday night gig. Come to my reggae session. It's going to be the same thing. So filmmakers today, start doing that for yourself right now. Right now.
There again, see Dad.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna piggyback, and since
Yes,
you
sir.
piggyback
Yes,
me,
sir.
I'm gonna
Yes,
do
sir.
okay. Filmmakers are the new rappers. Because you guys remember a few years ago, everybody had a CD. They probably still do, but I just remember I couldn't go to Harold's. I couldn't go nowhere without somebody like, yo, you got $3, $5, check me out, get my new CD. I feel like I was a little spoiled when I came out with my first feature. Like the personal success that I got off of it, I was like, oh, this is way bigger than what this film deserves. Because it was, for me, it was like we hustled and I four-walled before I even knew what four-wall was. I was stealing from, like, I really like to go back into history. I was stealing from, I believe it's Oscar Michaud. And I was just reading. I was like, this black man did this in the whole, like, racist times, and they was hanging people, and he was playing movies. You know, I was like, so what's stopping me? You know, and I rented out 87th Ice Theaters like three times, and it was just like, all right, sell out the first house, sell out the next house, and I'm like, okay, cool. You know, it was, oh, celebrate my birthday with me, guys, at the movie theaters. Buy a ticket. This is my gift. You know, and just like packed the house. Got to play about Black Harvest before that, and I didn't even play in February because they picked it up again for the Cisco Center for Black History Month. And I was just like, man, this is something. Then I got pushed into like the digital age, kind of like in a weird way. Ford Motors did a competition where they were promoting the new Ford Fiesta. And it's a popular car that was selling overseas for years. It was here long time ago, so they stopped and they wanted to bring it back over. And so they were looking for like, you know, 100 people across America. So you had to put a video together, so on and so forth. At that time, I was probably maybe on MySpace, maybe on Facebook, no Twitter, no Foursquare, no any of this other stuff. And I remember sitting in my video and like literally getting back and forth like, yo, we would like to use you. We want to have you as one of our agents. And so, but they were like, you have to join this, and this, and this. And I was like, okay. I was like, I know what this is. You do like me, but you need a black dude on the south side because all the rest of the agents on the north side. And it was like, all right, I'll take it. I'll take it. And so I was just hustling. And next thing I know, YouTube hit me up. And they were like, yeah, we want to offer you partnership. And I'm like, but I don't have like millions and millions of hits. But it's something called, which a lot of people don't know, it's called unique views. And my channel gets a lot of unique views. I don't get millions of hits. I get maybe 10,000 here, 15,000 here, so on and so forth. But it's like, this is a new 10,000 people. This is a new 15,000 people. This is new. And I wind up getting partnership. And then I visited, YouTube has a studio, like a full-on studio, like in LA. Like, I mean, cutting edge. They bought, who's the aviator? What's that guy? Howard Hughes. They bought Howard Hughes' old airplane hangar. And I mean, they totally customized it out. Mocaps, big black box stages. They get all types of Canons and Reds, unlimited lenses, all free to YouTube users who hit 10,000 subscribers or more. So, oh, pretty boy one, YouTube guys, I need that help. But and then, so I start to realize like this paradigm shift where it's like, whoa, like literally, like even talking to the people who were running it, they were like, yeah, Oprah comes and shoots in here, ESPN comes and shoots in here, but we don't care about them. Like, I mean, they care about them, but they like, who means something to us is like, I can't even think of something. It's like they start listing like some of their top 5 YouTubers. They're like, these are our rock stars. They have black cards that get them special access into any of these studios anytime they want to because it's their content that pushes YouTube. Once the machine starts to be monetized and they see the worth in you, you know, like he said, the content, not all the content is like pristine. Some of this stuff looks like it's shot on a high 8 tape, but people keep coming back for it. And I just think if you can tap into that and constantly stay in the know of what that is. Like I said, I was blessed to fall into a lot of stuff. I was blessed to do the four-walling. I was blessed to, you know, get the Ford thing and fall into the YouTube stuff. But it's like now I'm more conscious about like what trends are forming. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's just crazy because now it's like Kermit the Frog drinking tea. It's somebody who's getting now you gotta, you know what I'm saying? Now that ain't none of my business though. You know, I mean, and it's like it's going crazy. And some people look at that and be like, oh, I can't make any money off that because that's Kermit. But it's like, look, you can make these funny memes with it. Somebody is making these funny memes with it, not to make the money off of that particular thing. It's just so people can see that they're funny. Now they're following them. And so now they're going to be like, oh, and I sell Dasani water. And they're buying the water because you've just, you know, you use stuff. So it's like being able to tap into the trends. Of course, the trends you like, don't do the fire challenge or anything like that. But, you know, just, you know, stuff like that. So it's, I think you should like definitely like tap into the trends and see that it's stuff that's outside your realm, but almost in your realm. Like anything in this entertainment is like, it's out, but it's in. You know, I think I'm gonna start doing poetry now just to go to slams and get more people and like, oh, watch my movie. So, you know what I'm saying? I just think.
With Josh and Sai, what are your plans for the fourth meeting
Well,
in terms of, you know, distribution, getting it out there?
Film festival circuit, but going into the fourth meeting, well, people make shorts as a calling card. They don't expect to get distribution or anything off it. They hope that people will see their short and it will lead to a feature. Someone will finance it, things like that. We took it a step further. We were like, instead of having a short as our calling card, but we have a feature as our calling card. And that was pretty much it. We weren't expecting distribution or to make money off the fourth meeting. It was strictly showing that we can make a feature film that looks like a professional, high production value Hollywood film that was shot in 6 days, $4,000. And we have the potential to do far more if you give us a lot of money. So that's what the fourth meeting was. It was a resume builder to get us to our second feature, which we're in development now with. That was the main goal of the fourth meeting.
And is that the same plan?
Yes,
with-
that's the same for me too. I mean, it's a short film, it's 10 minutes, and I was very conscious when I did it that, you know, I wasn't, I mean, of course, if you get distribution before a short film, it's really difficult. And yeah, it's a calling card for my feature film. Because I really wanted to make a feature film first. I didn't even want to make a short film. I did it because, you know, I didn't have any experience and I had to do something. So start somewhere. So and now I'm very glad I did it because, I mean, I would have gone into a feature film with no experience at all. So yeah, it was basically my short film was my school. It was the film school I didn't do. So I'm very grateful that I did that, for sure.
I got one or two things before we get to the audience, but it's important to go to film school.
You talking to me?
Anybody? No, no. I know it's important to you, Mr. Master's degree, but
I think we would have probably two very different opinions
Yeah, you
on
go
it.
first.
I think film school and art school are. I'm gonna try to be as.
I think if you do decide to go for whatever reason, make the most out of it. Don't go and just kind of learn some stuff and just kind of play around with your friends on the weekend. Like, go with a plan. Like, come out, no, okay, I'm gonna make X amount of shorts or a series of things. Like, have something to actually show for it. And I think a lot of people kind of go there to find themselves.
A lot
It's
of
not really
people-
the right thing to do.
A lot of people go there like, oh, I'll figure out what I want to do. Film school is good for some people. Maybe they need the support and the back and the nurture and gain their
Some
experience
people
that
learn
way.
best that way in a formal
Yeah,
setting.
but for me, I'm all about especially if you live in a major city like Chicago, LA, or New York, especially in Chicago, I would highly recommend going to College DuPage. They have rather than going to Columbia or something like that, where you're paying $30,000 a year. College DuPage is free. They use the same professors. They go back and forth. They have relatively the same equipment and facilities. And it's free. You get a Pell Grant. It pays for it. So I'm all about going your first 2 years. That's when you learn about theory, technique, software, all the equipment. And after that point, it's either you're creative or you're not. You can't teach someone creativity. The last 2 years is all about finding your voice. And I'm all about how they did it in the Renaissance back in the day. You find a mentor. You find a filmmaker that you appreciate and you really love, and you find them, you connect with them, and they teach you for free to develop your voice, to develop understanding filmmaking. If you do whatever's for free, that's my whole thing. Is don't do debt. That's my whole idea of learning and becoming a filmmaker.
And what do you say, Derek?
I'm torn in the situation. Like I agree with some of the stuff he says, but it's one of those situations where it's like film school is for some people. It's like it's tailored to you differently. Everybody's experience is different. Some people they do need a strict learning setup. Some people, how can I put it? For me, do I think I learned enough for $246,000? No. But your network is your net worth, and the type of people that I met there is priceless. You know, so it's like it's one of those situations. Whereas, how you said when school was over, that was it. No more free equipment. That doesn't go for me. I'm USC Mafia, so it's like I get on the phone and I call like Sean and I call other talented filmmakers. And I'm like, yo, I don't really have money, but you know, I need a couple cameras, I need some sound guys, and can you do some free editing? And they're like, yes. And it's vice versa. And I mean, like even before I left to come here, I had got offered like 3 jobs that I didn't even apply for in the film, like to come out, maybe assistants and stuff like that, just from other students who was like, yo, bro, I really appreciate that one time you stayed up that night with me to work for me. I got hired at such and such place. You want to come be my assistant? I can get you, you know, salary, so on and so forth. So it's how you work it, because everybody that goes there, some people, the majority of us came in wanting to be directors, white, black, Hispanic, no matter. And then some people just learn like, you know, I really don't have the directing thing, but I'm a really good editor. You know, I mean, and like if you look at Fruitvale by Ryan Coogler, the majority of his big people, he graduated from SC. They were from SC. He just hired his friends. He was like, the editors edited one of my little projects. One of my roommates, Stephen Capel, who's now signed to WME, the people who shot his stuff and worked on his stuff is his colleagues, and he plans to take them when he does the feature. You know, so
You showed his film last year.
and you showed his friends last year, A Different Tree. So it's like, don't go to film school if you have unrealistic goals. And I learned that really fast. I went to film school, and it was like when I went, I was like, I don't want to apply to any school unless it's the number one school. So I looked at all the papers, and it was always like a back and forth between USC and AFI. And then every now and, you know, and of course, NYU was in the top 5 and stuff like that. So I was like, I want to go to the best film school. And I went to USC, and I walked in there thinking like, oh, as soon as I walk in, you know, Steven Spielberg's going to be there, even though he did come. He would come every now and then. And even though George Lucas came, and our buildings is named after them, and, you know, Will Ferrell would walk through, and Vin Diesel every now and then, it was still like, wait, bro, you still got to read those books. You still got to shoot that stuff, you know, and just because you got accepted. I mean, do people look at you differently, like when you're sitting at a table and be like, oh, I graduated from USC? Most definitely. Like we'll all be sitting at a table and we'll all be talking, and it might be somebody of somewhat importance, and they'll be like, and they'll be like, oh, filmmakers, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I graduated from USC, and nine out of 10, you know, they've worked with other people from USC, so it gives you that like kind of fake clout, because it's like 80% of the workforce have some way worked with USC or came through USC. It's the oldest film school in America, so it just depends on what you do there, and most of your jobs are going to come from the people you worked with while you were there. So I mean, that's the most I get out of it. I feel like book stuff, maybe not as much as I should have got. I feel, because some teachers were amazing. Some teachers was like, yeah, you just want to check, but the students and the colleagues, prices. I mean, like for 3 years, 3 short years. I mean, some of these guys. Because you have to be open. Some of these guys have become new family. You could be in any bind. And sometimes what we don't do as filmmakers is get a lot of eyes, a lot of what I like to say real eyes in front of our project. Because you'll get your mom and your cousin and all that, and then they'll tell you, oh, baby, it's so beautiful. Look at that. Is it out of focus? It don't even matter because it's out of focus, because that's beautiful, you know? But you'll get one of your friends and they'll be like, "Yo, you gotta cut that. That's about 2 beats long. I know you hate to hear this, but you really need a reshoot." Or some people will read your scripts and like, I've had people say, "Derek, this ain't it. This ain't it, bro. You gotta go back," and you need that. And you need it from somebody who is confident and capable to feed you that. So that's what film school is really good at giving you. It's not what's in the structure of the building, but in the hearts that you can win over from being just who you are. You know? So that's my long spiel. Y'all stop making me talk, man. I'll be up here all day.
No, you got a lot of information. So we had just under an hour, and I just want to open to audience questions. Anybody has? It would be the one all the way up there. Huh? Okay, come on down. But before they come down, anybody down here on the first floor has a question? Who?
Hello, all you filmmakers.
Hey.
I see that you all were talking about on YouTube about funding and things like that. How do you? I know that how you promote your funding to get people to know, hey, we're looking for funding. But how exactly do you take the cash? Do people mail it to you, or do you do direct deposit, or how exactly do you go about doing that?
Well, for me, if you do Kickstarter normally set up through PayPal or Amazon Cart. You can do one or the two. On my website, I created a button that's a PayPal button. It's just forever. Like, it's just a donation button, so people can just go on my website and donate. Period. So I mean, that's pretty much how it is. I don't really get cash in the mail. I mean, that would be nice. I can give you my address, because I've never experienced that before. But it's like, it's all these things that's already set up. You know, some people be like, "Oh, I got to Chase Quick Pay or something." Like, I've seen filmmakers get money that way. You know, I mean, it's mostly electronic. Yeah. You know, so you can keep tabs on what you're getting and what's coming through.
What Derek was also talking about earlier with the partnership piece with YouTube. If you are a creator and you have a YouTube account or a Google account and you get to a certain amount of views, they will offer a partnership piece with you. And basically what that is after you accept their terms of conditions or whatever, the videos you put up after that, they will put a pre-roll on it, or they'll put a pop-up commercial during it. And they have different algorithms that they figure out, you know, how to pay for what. Like he said, like he was getting unique hits. Some people just go for the raw, like, you know, cat videos and try and get 1 million, you know, whatever the case may be. I don't know and they won't say what their algorithm is on how you get paid more money. But suffice to say, if you have a consistent audience and you have a pretty substantial audience, then what they do is they actually will pay you for the views. Now, it's just a couple cents every 100 or 1,000 or whatever, and you have to get a lot of views to be significant. But after a while, it just starts to come through your PayPal account or however you set up when you set up your YouTube, you know, partnership. However you want to get paid, they send it to your bank, they send it to your YouTube, but you will actually get a check from YouTube if you start putting up.
Yeah, you got to hit a threshold too. So the threshold is like 100. So they'll send it to you. It's like it used to be quarterly. I think for the bigger people now they break it down where you get a little bit more. And I know they just changed it a little bit because it used to be like all about the commercial play. But because now people are setting like their computers to like recycle and stuff like that, it's like commercial play plus minutes watched of the actual content. So they can keep a better grasp of that, because you know you can literally, I can be like, yo, everybody up here just you can like in Google Chrome build these little like bots and stuff where it can just like as soon as the commercial play restart, so you can keep getting the hit that way. So they're just trying to work it out. But he's right, cents on the dollar, but it does add up. It's some of those bigger people that I was trying to mention earlier. I can't think of their name. Like they're seeing upwards of 30,000 a month, easily, because they're getting multiple hits. And so many of them, like some guy you said earlier, they're getting deals with CAA. They're getting TV shows. One of the girls that was on the Ford Motors campaign with me, she's on Does anybody see that like shit commercial, women shit commercial? And she's like, I'm ribboning everything. You ribbon something. I'm on a roll. You don't even know what the hell is you talking about. But I'm like clap every time it's on because there's somebody who like turned just like shooting small things in her house into a career for herself. Yeah.
Good evening. Want to ask you, how do you start a budget for your film? Like literally, how do you start? Do you itemize, go through every page and say, I need this, I need that?
Well, there's courses for that, and you just learn it. Budgeting and scheduling is its own complicated thing. It matters what you're shooting. So when you budget and schedule, they're hand in hand. You go through your script, you find out how many locations you have, how many people, how many actors are going to be in it. You find out every single thing that you're going to need, and you itemize that and figure out how long you're going to need it. So if you need an actor for, say, 4 days, you figure it out. You're going to first you have to see if you're going to be able to pay them and how much your budget's going to be. If you're going to pay them $100 a day, then you need to know, okay, they're going to be here for 4 days and need $400 just for that one person. Figure it out for the other people. Budgeting and scheduling is they become jobs in their own. That's why there's ADs and LPs who strict careers just based around scheduling and budgeting things. But it's a lot more complicated. There's many sites online that give you step-by-step advice on how to schedule and budget. So I would definitely look online because it's a lot harder to explain to someone because there's like whole classes on scheduling and budgeting.
You know what? Here's a recommendation. You can take it or leave it. It's this book called Voices and Vision. Visions and Voices, Voices and Vision. Voices and Vision. And it's I mean, it's not gonna give you everything you need in one sitting, but it's from conception to completion. It's one of those books that like will walk you through like, all right, you writing a script, let's write the script, then to break it down into eighths and stuff like that. That could help you a little bit more. Because it is a lot to go into there. And I mean, it's programs like Movie Magic and scheduling stuff, but those are really intense programs. And I mean, unless you want to be like a producer, I would ask you to like bring somebody on with you because you'll miss it. You'll not realize like you'll get ready to shoot and be like, oh, we need bottles of water. And even in the beginning when you start like lower, there's one thing you can't cut corners on, and that's feeding people. You're always gonna have to feed somebody. The first thing I do whenever I'm like mentoring anybody, because I mentor kids at Martin Luther in South Central LA. And I walk on their little sets and I'm like, where's the food? They're like, no. Like even if you're not shooting long enough to give somebody a hot meal, you need snacks. You need to get replenished because people get angry, and the minute people hungry and angry, it's over. Ask my girlfriend. I feed her every 2 hours like a baby. Yeah.
Well,
so
can I add two things? One thing, I mentioned this last week in my talk about screenwriting. If you want to read a book about independent filmmaking, I still think the best book I've ever read is the book by Robert Rodriguez, Rebel Without a Crew. His first movie, El Mariachi, made for $7,500. And does anybody know how he raised the money to make the medical experiments? He willed his body to medical experiments down at the University of Texas in Austin, where he lives. And basically, I think he probably still suffers from it today. But you got to make the money. Somehow you got to make it. And that whole period when he was at the word experimenting on him, he wrote the script for his movie. So you got to do, but it's a great book. It's an absolutely great book. And he talks about all the details about how the film was made.
Theoretically, there is art for art's sake. There's making art for the process of it. And I'm not against that. I think most of the people here need to figure out how to make a living doing this art. And that's why I'm giving these tidbits from my own background or my own experience. But, at the end of the day, there's always going to be the pull between art and, oh, that's too corporate and I'm selling out. And, even Da Vinci needed the Catholic Church to pay for him to do or maybe I'm who was it that did the chapel?
Well, I'm just saying.
Michelangelo.
Angelo had, the church paid for it. He couldn't have just sat up there for 6 years doing the ceiling for free. So you still need your patron saints. The bread and butter in my career right now is still doing commercial work, and I'm not ashamed of that. I pay for my kids' school and clothes through doing commercial work. Now, doing documentary films is a extension of that for me, and eventually I'll get to narrated films. But for me, I think that right now, if I'm talking to somebody young or somebody just getting into this, I want to teach them how to fish for themselves. I don't want to, say, hey, look, fishing can be so beautiful, and it's the art of the fish. It's good. I didn't go to art school, I didn't go to film school.
You ain't got to look at me.
No, I have a very pragmatic approach to it. Is all.
Can I say
Okay.
something about this? Yeah, and I totally understand what you're saying, because for me, I write because I want to write. I'm not thinking about. I'm thinking about the audience, but not really. It's just an urge. I write. I need to put things on paper. My feature film is based on my story when I was 13 years old. So really, it's just for the fact of writing, because I'm a writer, first of all. So, and then I'm not very good at this, I have to say. The whole business side of it, this is not my forte at all. I'm a writer and I want to make a film, and that's it. I need to find actually somebody who's going to do the money talk, because that's not me, So I think there is something for everybody, Some people are very good at selling their stuff, and some are not. Some are good at writing, and some are good at directing. So I think everybody has his own voice, and of course you want to make a business out. If you can make money, it's awesome. I might be immature in the field, but for me, it's about the content. It's about what am I writing about, and if I can get an audience, fantastic. If not, for me, it's I'm at that point, and maybe later, because I've considered myself a baby in everything that I do, a writer. I just started writing only 2 years ago, so. But that's where I am right now. I need to be realistic, but for me right now, it's just about the writing and how I feel and putting things on paper. So it's all about the creativity.
I think
Yeah.
Sai and I have a different approach to it.
Well, no, I kind of see where everybody's
it's like-
coming from. I think there's a time. Nobody has just one project. If you're a writer, if you're a filmmaker, there's many things you want to do. Some people really do just have one story they need to tell, and they do it, and they're gone. But if you have a lot of things, if you have a backlog of things to work off of, there's a time to put that one project first and the time to hold it back. And that's when you can still kind of listen to the market and know what people want and present it to them, though, in a way that you like. Give them what they want, but tell it in a way that you feel is artistically fulfilling as well, too. I think you could find a balance and make that possible.
Yeah, I think for Sai and I, we have many different projects spanning across many different genres, but we realize that you can't make everything when you want to make it. We made The Fourth Meeting because it was easy to make. Our next step is to make our next project that we're in development is a crime thriller. We know that people like crime thrillers. They're easier to get financing for than romantic comedy or some personal drama that you had in your family you're trying to make. It's not that those stories aren't good. It's just those are more easily to market. Mm-hmm. They're more commercially viable. Investors
have bigger global appeal, too. You got to think about that. Foreign markets as well.
And so it's all about compromise. That's what I think. And so I was talking about that is taking what the market wants now and doing it your own way, putting your personal voice into it. And I think that's a good challenge. I think putting boundaries and constraints on yourself makes you more creative. You might create something completely original out of that, being constrained to this one genre and doing something that you never thought that you would do.
I just have one thing. Don't please, folks, don't get me wrong. Can we just have a hold on the pictures for a second? People taking pictures because I can hear the click, and I know that it's just being recorded for television. And if I can hear it, I know they're picking it up on the sound as well. So let's, just for the time being, just a hold on photograph taking. You, sir.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. I'm a writer, and I want to start filming like next week. And I want to know if
You got a script?
Canon. Yeah, I write. Yeah, I sure do. Can I submit a Canon 70 or use the Canon cameras? Is that suffice for entering into the film festival? That's one question. Or do I have to? Is it, do I have to get a red dot, which would cost more money? But is a Canon good enough to use, high definition Canon? And my second question: do I need permits to go out and shoot in the city?
Or just don't get caught.
Yeah, it's just don't get caught. The permits are pretty cheap,
Yeah.
but
I think the first thing is, you know what? Honestly, it doesn't. I want to say it doesn't matter what you shoot on. The story is key. I mean, you
Right.
definitely. I mean, you don't want to go shoot on a high tape, but I mean, it's ways you could make a found footage movie and be like, oh, this is high 8 found footage and play it off like the Paranormals or the what was the one that was really Blair Witch.
Right.
My film for that I just did was shot on a 5D. I mean, it's not the tool, it's the craftsman.
Right.
You know,
I got
it's,
you.
it's who's behind it.
I got you. So,
No story.
Nah,
So listen, story. Make sure your story is.
Oh man, listen, I got that. that. You see what I'm saying? But I want to ask you all, since you all use such a low budget, $4,000, $5,000, I'm worried about my location shots. I don't want to be stopped when I'm on location filming. So that's why I'm asking about
the film office is extremely helpful. Getting permits is $25 to shoot on the streets of Chicago. They'll give you permission to shoot wherever you want. In essence,
Now, another question. What about the insurance factor? They say you have to have $1 million worth of insurance. Did you all run into that problem?
I only got Allstate
$1 million.
car, so
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
What-
so
$1 million. Okay.
yeah, we bought.
And $1 million worth of insurance.
Yeah. Explain it to me.
There's a difference between $1 million policy and $1 million insurance. So you will be covered to $1 million, and what you'll be out of your pocket about $2,500. It depends, and then you have like a deductible, which is 25, depending, right? So they're smart enough to know that the 9 out of 10 things you're going to do is back your grip truck into a light pole or ding somebody's car or knock out a store window, which is going to come right into your deductible, right? You're not going to get into that $1 million until you like burn down City Hall.
I feel you, but so so $2,500 initial for the insurance up front.
Oh yeah. You pay for the
It's
policy
only-
up front for a matter of weeks or months, or you can keep it annually. But then you have riders based on the full value of the equipment you're taking out, and then non-owned leased vehicles, and then of course any locations that you have to.
That's from the city of Chicago.
No.
We use buyer insurance.
Buyer.
And they're extremely helpful in all this. They have really 2 policies. You can pay like $850 for a whole year, so you can shoot like 3 movies in 1 year.
$850 for a year.
Yeah, and it covers you the whole year, no matter how many projects you do in that year. Or you can do it by per project, and we did that for $700. It's still $1 million thing. So it's not that expensive. It's not like it's expensive, like $700.
But it's buyer's insurance.
Yeah,
that
buyers
located in
insurance.
Chicago.
Yeah, they're located in Chicago. You can Google them.
So it was just hard for me to find the source for the insurance company. See, that's why I really came here to ask, because it's very difficult for really an independent.
What you do? What you do? Go to the Illinois Film Office.
Yeah.
Go to the website. They have a guide, a directory. You can download it now. and it lists everything you need. You know,
The insurance companies and everything?
insurance agents, whatever. It's you used to be able just to go to the office to give you a copy. Now, of course, everything is online. You can download the whole thing on a PDF, and it give you all the information, insurance companies, everything you need.
I got him hooked up, man. He's
Okay,
good.
very good.
Thank you.
Do you have a production designer, number one? And two, maybe you guys could comment on if you see a place for the formal film school education, the $80,000 to $90,000+ education. Is this a craft that you believe can be taught, or is this your, the passion and the art? So I think that would be really interesting to hear. Thanks.
I think I'm the only one that didn't answer the film school question, so I'll answer. And I too am torn, like Derek. I want to go back to school and get an MFA in film, but not because I feel like it's going to teach me how to necessarily make films better. I want to be able to teach one day, and to teach at a reputable film school, you have to have an MFA. So that's why I want to get one, but I'm totally self-taught. And in fact, funny story about when we talked about mentorships and kind of giving your talents away for free to learn. When I was doing commercials, all the producers and editors and production companies that I worked with loved me. I come in and I would be, they would lay it out, right? And it was lots of love. And then one day I made the mistake of telling them, hey man, I love what you guys are doing. Can you maybe teach me how to edit? Can you, what kind of camera are you using? And it was like, cricket. Nobody wants to teach you this craft for whatever reason. Even we'll be watching a film by Richard Pryor's daughter later tonight. And Richard Pryor said in his stand-up in Sunset Strip 30 years ago about, he stopped this whole comedy thing and pointed at one of the cameramen and said, y'all don't want to teach nobody, y'all make it a big secret. It's still that way today. So I think that with the internet, there's a huge amount of stuff you can learn on your own. I had to learn a lot of it by, I did something sneaky. I would hire people who were doing it independently for my projects and make sure that I could just shadow them and, hey, what kind of camera are you using? What kind of edit software are you using? And then I would just go from there and took it upon myself to teach myself. But I had kind of a designer technical background. I knew Photoshop and Illustrator and some other things. So if you're at all tech savvy, you can get a lot of things done. But when he talked about, how do you budget a film? I say you do all the things that you think are at an excellent level, and then you bring on other people who have the talents you don't have. And that's how you get a film done, I think, especially if you don't have the money to do it.
Can I also add one other thing? Watch movies.
Oh, yes.
Watch a ton of movies. I'm not talking about the stuff that comes out now. I'm talking about 1960s, 1970s, 1950s, 1940s, the silent era. Everybody always raves about Quentin Tarantino. He doesn't have an original bone in his body. Every single thing in this movie is taken from another film. Gee, the beginning of Inglourious Bastards, that's from Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. When Lee Van Cleef appears.
Yeah.
The first scene in the movie. How do I know that? I've seen Good, the Bad, and the Ugly like 1,000 times. What's the other one that made him so famous? Pulp Fiction? Pulp Fiction is stolen from like 50 different movies. The friend I saw, we can name that's the setup, that's the killers. The 1946 version or the 1964 version with Lee Marvin. He just knows every single movie. Everybody doesn't know the history of movies, so they think it's brand new. It isn't. Everything. There's nothing new.
Well, Quentin worked in a video store, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he would just watch videotapes all day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So watch movies. The great directors you like, Scorsese, he knows every movie that's ever been made. And he's done he did a 4-hour documentary on the history of Italian cinema. And I because I have it. And he's gone back and he tells us the history from the silent era. And it's called My Voyage to Italy. Why? Because he's seen all those movies and he knows them backwards and forwards. And that's what you got to know. You got to know movies. One reason films are so bad today is because these people don't know anything about movies.
Make it plain, man. Make it plain.
Yeah. You over there.
I'm just interested as far as over the last 3 years, we've seen that uptick in television and major films being shot in here. As an actor, I'm thrilled. It's being able to make a living and everything in this town now. But in the back of my mind, I'm always wondering as far as what is the ripple effect of the major companies coming in and the networks, if any. Is it making it more difficult for our filmmakers here and for the smaller companies? Is it helping somehow, or is it really just kind of push? There's not really much of an effect. What's happened really in the last 3 years with that?
I really don't. I can't see it being an effect, just for the simple fact, like everybody has lanes. Like even when she said she's doing a short, like everybody is seeking content because everything is growing, and they can't make all that content. Like Aspire and stuff, I believe Aspire TV takes independent people shorts. You know what I'm saying? And it's all like NBC and ABC. They take web content from people. Like he mentioned Issa Rae. We were talking about like she was able to do the YouTube thing, and now she got something that's gonna happen for HBO. So it's not more than one project. Yeah. So it's like it's not taken away. It's great. It's shedding some light. You're getting some people you might bump in here. I remember before Chicago Fire started, when I had This Ain't Your Movie here, like 2 of the actors just came in and watched our films. How's that? And even though it's not like they called me and said, I'm acting your movie, but I was able to sit down and talk to them and get some good pointers. I always think anytime anybody brings a spotlight to wherever you're at, you just have to make sure you're ready and have something carved out for yourself, because everybody has a lane. That goes back to earlier when I said it's no competition. It's no competition. It's a spot for you. When people couldn't get on TV, that's why YouTube is popping like that. I can't get on TV. All right, I'm gonna get my. That's why it's Vine stars, people who make 6-second videos who are signed to agencies. Because they're like, oh, I can't get the YouTube popping. I'm not good at Twitter. You know what? I can make 6 seconds awesome. I mean, so it's just opportunity.
And going off of that, it's there. I can't see any negative effect about them bringing industry to Chicago, because one thing you have to realize, they're not bringing LA crews to Chicago. Right. That costs too much money. Yeah. They're just using everybody who's locally here to film Chicago 5, to film all these Chicago shows and movies. So I only see it as a benefit.
Can I say to a point? Because if you're a grip or a juicer, you push a dolly, that's great. I've been a film educator. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, an electrician, somebody, a lamp operator. I've been a film educator as well as a filmmaker for over 20 years, and I go past these sets and I see many of my students up there humping cable and doing that stuff, and I'm happy for them. But I haven't seen one of them as a director of photography of any of those shows. All right. So and we know when a show gets put together, those principles are going to be at the epicenter of the construction of that show being put together. And when you go to that town, you're going to pick up those bodies that make it happen. But, they're not the creative core.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
yeah. I was going to say that because you're an actor, definitely. Yeah, they do start. They start everything. I mean, because even to get the picture picked up, you already attach an actor. So they already, yeah. But you can be a guest star.
Okay, so you have a question up here?
First beer I've had in 4 months.
Hello.
Hey.
So I have 2 questions. One, just sort of listening. There's a lot of conversation about staying in lanes and productivity and utilizing teams and networks and things like that. So my first question, and then I'll ask them together. One is, what does currently your individual team look like? Teams look like. And I don't mean teams as in, this is my production team for my film, but this is my publicist, this is my person that manages this. What does your back end look like? Or are you all solopreneurs? And then 2, well, obviously there's a level of partnership, but I mean fixed partnerships or service providers that work with you. And then 2, how do you all manage market adaptation? And I'll get specific about that. when you all are traveling to different spaces, or when you're taking your film and you maybe from LA or you from New York or wherever you created your film, what means with your limited budgets are you using? What resources are you using to make sure that you're communicating your work or your film to that local audience in a way that they'll connect to authentically, as opposed to the other or the outsider from wherever you're from? So those are my 2 questions.
Okay. Anybody want to start first?
The first question was crew, your people, right? And so you start out with a crew of one, like an army of one. You start out with yourself. You try to adapt whatever skills that you bring to the table. Sometimes you might not bring anything to the table. Maybe.
Sorry, not to. I did just cut you off. Okay. I really mean you specifically.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like the journey.
I was gonna get to it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, because I was like, I know what I have, but I was just kind of curious about you specifically, myself.
Me specifically. So, like the guy that's on the camera right there, right?
Right.
It's my man Noel, right? Mm-hmm. Me and him trade, like, if he does something and he needs me, we trade services, like, back and forth like it's nothing, and we help each other out. I started out with Noel and a few other interested parties. But like, say for instance, my associate producer from Cartimquin is here too, Justin Williams, who's awesome. But I wouldn't have had his services without partnering with Cartimquin Films, right? So at a certain point, you and your crew, or you and your people know this is as much as we can do by ourselves. And to expand that, you have to give up something. You have to, bring people in, and you have to have faith that by bringing others in, you trust them and you trust their judgment and their creative vision, and that they see your creative vision as well. And so my back office, my publicist, my everything, AP is all primarily through Cartimquin right now, because I knew that my vision, my directorial, my writing was where I could get it to, but I couldn't hire the rest of these people. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have the budget to do that.
What was your second question?
It was about market adaptation, communicating to different markets, your message.
Okay, well, I am, and people get mad at me when I say this, I'm an avid believer that it is not, like, people don't buy into your films, they buy into you. So I'm like, you notice I try to make a joke like every time I talk, because I want people to like me. I want people to be like, yeah, I don't know their names, but that one dude kept making jokes and his girlfriend hungry. I like that. That's, that type of stuff. I mean, because it's like, you go see a Quentin Tarantino movie. Yeah, I mean, he's made his name for himself, but people go see Quentin and they might not even see the trailer because they bought into who he is. You go see Robert Rodriguez. Machete and Machete Kills are not good movies. But I'm going to go see it because I bought into who Robert Rodriguez is. Shark Boy and Lava Girl was not a good movie, but I was there with my popcorn, looking weird. But you know what I'm saying? So it's about making the things that you want to make, making sure the things that you make touches an audience, be it good, be it negative. Make them feel something. And when they meet you, intensify that feeling. So when they leave, you could be nothing. My films could not be anything, but now you're buying into me. And that's how I like to touch everywhere I go, no matter where it is.
So with that, if you would follow that same theory, and I know you want to probably move on, but I would say if you would follow that same, well, not theory, you have it in practice right now, depending on how large your operation continues to get, there's going to be a limited amount of people that are going to be able to interact with you personally or be privileged to such spaces. So there's going to be a time, if not already, where people are going to experience or have some level of content that's being sent towards them that you want them to buy into before they're able to connect to the name or the person.
But see, what happens then, if, like, God willing, when you get to that position, it's representation for you. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's times like when I get to that point, like maybe I'm sitting down with a CA or a WME, it's like then their reputation makes you listen to who I am. You see what I'm saying? Because it's like you'll sit down, when you go in, it's like, oh yeah, but they you just don't get like a director agent. You know, you get a talent agent, and you get all these things that, so when your work is being sent out, you're taking it serious. You know, it's just what happened. Kevin Hart doesn't have to be everywhere for you to like a Kevin Hart thing. He doesn't, because he's Kevin Hart now, and he has a team of people pushing him. It's just, you know, sooner or later we're gonna have to get there. But until then, just like everything else, it's like it's you. You're selling yourself. I'm not selling condoms. I'm not selling Black Man Depressed. I'm selling Derek Dow. You know?
Yeah, I would completely agree with him about image is everything. Your film should speak for itself, and many directors of films definitely speak for themselves. But the filmmakers that you know them by their image. You know who Quentin Tarantino is. You know what he looks like. Ang Lee is a brilliant director. I bet most of you don't even know what he looks like, but you know Brokeback Mountain, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. He's not about his image. He's about his work. Today, sadly, image is everything. You don't have to be talented to be famous or well known. The Kardashians do that perfectly. Lady Gaga, Rihanna, they aren't like the great singers. Some can sing to some degree, but it's all about shock value and image, and they're holding on to that because that's today in this decade, in this generation, image is everything. And I completely agree. Your films should touch people and speak to them, but you want to take it to a whole nother level, let people know who you are. People know me. People talk about, oh, the black guy with the mohawk. Oh yeah, I don't know his name, but I know who he is. I know who you're talking about. So at least they know, they have some sort of image of who you are. I'm not saying you need to go out and get a mohawk, but you either have to have a funny personality. Oh, that really funny guy. I know who you're talking about. But you need to have something that will last with people's minds, so they know you and they want to follow you, and then they'll want to follow your work.
What's going to add also is because the whole social media thing. I would say it's even easier now. Ava DuVernay is a perfect example of that. I mean, she was a publicist, so she knows how to work it, right? So if you go on her on her Facebook page, you know everything that she's doing when she directed an episode of Scandal, it was everywhere. When she directed Selma, her film coming out for Christmas, she had constantly all the time images from the movie. Now there are images of her behind the scenes. Now there are images from the movie that start getting on Facebook yesterday, right? And then look at how she looks with the glasses and the long braids. She's created an image. So when you think of Ava DuVernay, you say, okay, I know you talk about the woman with the glasses and she's got the long braids, you know, and the heart-shaped face. You know, she's a marketer. She knows how to market. So Spike Lee, the most brilliant marketer I've ever seen. Alfred Hitchcock, brilliant marketers, right? Of course, they have the work to back it up, which is the other important thing. It's okay to have an image. Michael Bay, people know who he is, more or less. You don't like his movies. Every time you see a picture of him, he's got a smirk on his face. But, you know, when you hear Michael Bay, you know what to expect. He markets himself very well. So, like I said that earlier, marketing now is a major part of filmmaking. Yeah, go ahead.
Sergio, can I answer that question? I work with Tony. I just wanted to answer. It's Janice, right? Okay. See, it was out. Anyway, that's another side story. But I just wanted to talk about what we do at Cartemquin and why it's necessary to talk a little bit about that model, because just as Tony was raising awareness about the tax credit law and how we need everyone in the room to be aware of that, a part of how that marketing strategy works, that distribution strategy works, is because we have a community that is already anticipating that film, that already wants that film. And it comes through actually making substantial connections to communities through where they already go to valid voices that say, hey, this is worth something. Hey, this is worth watching. Hey, like we're right now in the Cisco Center. If this wasn't in the Cisco Center, how many people would actually come? You know, this is a gatekeeper. It already connects you to an audience that says, hey, this is already going to be valid. This is worth seeing. So if we can plug into our community, especially as Black folk, because we already have some institutions and already have some voices that maybe won't be as fancy as, say, the Cisco Center, but will be able to tap into the people who we need to see our films, to bring the awareness, bring the money, and then Once it's already hot, then you're going to be picked up. The whole model of I got a gimmick, I got a talent, that's black commodification that they've been doing since we were slaves, and that's what they've been doing. You know, who can ever shuck and jive the most? There's only going to be one, you know. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a greater platform so there can be many. And so if we're trying to fill a hole with who's got the best image, we're going to be competing with each other. We got to actually touch the institutions that matter and continue to say, hey, bring us up with you. That's my thought on that.
To build on what Justin is saying, you know, it's a push-pull, and until you get to a point where you are a Spike Lee or a name brand yourself, building the platform is a lot more helpful to you and everybody else around you. If, say, for instance, through social media, like Sergio said, if you have people in Washington, D.C. or Atlanta who know you through Facebook, and you say to yourself, well, I'm going to be filming in, or I'm going to be showing this in Atlanta, well, the first people you should reach out to are your friends and the people who believe in your project in these various places through social media. And so now you have a pull instead of just a push. That's the paradigm shift that's happened in Hollywood. Is it used to be just whatever Hollywood pushed out this summer, that's what you were going to watch, you know? But now there's this back and forth between creators and their audience, and they say, I like that trailer, I didn't like what you did on that panel, or I did like this. And you build relationships and you build platforms that then other filmmakers can go through. You know, you can only make so many films, but look at all the filmmakers in here. And if you had a film through that same platform every week, imagine how strong that platform would be.
Anybody else has a question? Yes. Okay.
I'm a layman when it comes to this side of the filmmaking, but my question is there a lane or even a title for someone that may be creative but not a writer, where he can come up with the images and maybe a thought, but hook up with a writer and create a movie in that area?
A producer?
That's what, I mean, I don't know. You know, that's all they do.
No, they do a lot more, but that's like one. Some producers do that. They have an idea, they go to a writer, they have a writer create the script, they develop, they make a package, and they try to get it financed. But I would say a producer, that's the only person I can really think of who would ever do something of that nature.
And what you're describing is a treatment. So write it out. I mean, you might not be able to do a 99-page script. You might have to take it to a Sergio Mims to expand it out into 99. But you can write a treatment. Right? You can just do 2 pages of the idea and then get it to a writer.
Just like a music video type of treatment.
Yeah.
Okay, and as far as a community in Chicago, if you have such a treatment to try and maybe get it out or connect with someone, do you know any avenues or places that can do that?
You talking groups or?
Anywhere, you know. Again, I'm a layman on that side, so I'm not sure about the communities where you can connect with people to do that.
Real Black Filmmakers meets once a month on the South Side, the last Wednesday of every month, down at the Community Film Workshop, which is run by Miss Margaret Caples. I don't know if anybody in here, but she's I don't know what it is off the top of my head. There it is. Philemon is actually one of the members. Yeah.
What's the name of the community?
Yes, right. There's lots of them. Yeah. Yeah.
You said last week. What's the name of the facility?
It's called Real Black Filmmakers. If you just Google it, you'll find the Facebook, you'll find the fan page, you'll find the dates, all that stuff. They update it every month.
REEL real.
Real as in real film real REL. Yeah.
But
Not
there's
real
also,
as in there's fake ones and now there's real ones. No, it's
right.
real
There's
as
also
in,
there's also IFP, Independent Features Project, Illinois.
Midwest Film Festival.
Yeah, they have once a month they bring in a filmmaker to do. I think on the 23rd of September to bring in Joe Swansburg, who's the guy who lives up on the north side, who started making these what they call mumblecore movies. And now he created a brand and an image for himself. Now he's represented. He's done a bunch of movies now with, major Hollywood stars, but they all come here to work for no money for him because he created this brand, this image of spoiled white yuppies on the north side. And it's made him very, very successful. and so yeah, I mean there are a lot of once again I go back to what I told the other guy. Go to the Illinois Film Office, download that film guide or directory, I should say. You can download it, it's free, and it'll give you a lot of information about organizations and crew members and all that kind of stuff. They renew it, they do an updated version every year. IFP, right, Independent Features Project Midwest. They're based here in Chicago, but I mean their office all over the country, but there's one here in Chicago.
Yeah, I got a lot of information. I appreciate the information you all shared and the different perspectives on filmmaking. The question I had two questions. One was in relation to what do you feel is the biggest challenge all of you face that's the common denominator in getting the film done? And from a business perspective, like the monetization strategy, and what is your thought to an investor that will be willing to invest in a project, and how would that investor get kind of a return on the capital they invest in getting the project done? I wanted to kind of get an idea from the filmmaker side, what do you offer an investor if someone wanted to kind of partner with you, like you mentioned, in the project? And I wanted to know the biggest challenge that filmmakers face in terms of the downside for an investor and saying, hey, this can go wrong, or these are the challenges, kind of the insurance for the investor.
You go first. Oh. I would just say this is probably for any filmmaker, the hardest thing is getting financing. That's just, once you have money, if you have a good pre-production, then production will go smoothly and everything, but it's all about getting the money, and that's the longest and hardest process, I would argue, for any film, really. For investors want to know just will they make their money back and how fast they're going to make their money back. And there's many factors that can smooth an investor on wanting to invest in your movie. One, it's the genre and the content of your movie. If you make a drama, it's less likely that you'll make your money back, and they don't want to do that. As Tony was saying about the audiences, horror movies, even if it's the worst B-list horror movie ever, they have built-in audiences. People are going to want to go see those, even if it's terrible. And those movies can make their money back, and typically do. And investors feel comfortable with that. Even if it's a bad project, they know they're going to make their money back. And because a horror movie has a built-in audience, a crime thriller has a built-in audience. Romantic comedies don't. They're very hard to market to investors and make your money back off of. So there's genre, there's who you have attached to your project. If you manage to get a big name director or actor and things like that, it's building a package. And if that package is good, investors want to invest into it. The market, who you're marketing to. If it's an all black film, then I would argue you want to go find black investors who want to support those type of movies, because I would just argue most white investors would think that it's very niche and they won't get their money back. It's not a broad enough audience. Same thing with most minority. If it's a minority film, investors might not want to invest in that, the majority of them. There's many things that go into what will make an investor want to pursue your film.
Also, it's no guarantee of them getting their money back. It's never a guarantee. You can have Tom Cruise and something, and he has a movie or two that flopped. But then, on the flip side of it, it doesn't always have to be like traditional investors. You do have grants. You do have stuff like sometimes if it's like a socio-economic movie, you can find like foundations who will help put in, who, you can build your budget like that. Then I don't think it's necessarily here, but like it's this director named Uwe Boll or something like that from, I don't know, he's horrible. But like he always finds ways to get his country to like give him money to make these films. So I mean it's so many other avenues. It's a lot of avenues to do it. It's just not, is like he said, you can build a package and you can hope that can happen, because you'll even have people who are established, like Jump in the Broom, right? Who had like Paula Patton and all these other people, and Babyface, Tracy Edmonds' wife was the producer on it and stuff like that. And she said it took like 10, 12 years to get that made. You know what I'm saying? So it's no guarantees. You know, at the end of it, I always say it, and it's, I know it's like cliche, but it's story, and you. I like you. Let me read the story. This story is kind of good. I'm gonna work to see you succeed.
Well, you know,
With
it
the hopes
also
of my
reminds
money.
me that movie, The Butler, came out last year, had 42 producers. And what happened was that they couldn't raise the money. No studio wanted to do it, so they had to go out and get like 42 producers on the promise that whatever you give us, you'll get a credit. And that's what they did. You know, the first person who put up the money was the ex-wife of Robert Johnson. I forgot. And she started it, but it once again it wasn't easy. It took them years, but they same thing for Lone Survivor. That had about 40 different investors in that movie. And the same thing. Nobody would have put money into it, so they had to go piece by piece. We'll promise you something if you put up whatever money it is to it. You know, there's no single way to finance a movie anymore. Forget the studio system. That's old. That's gone. Most studio films are basically not entirely financed by studios now. It's basically their pickup, they're financed by another company, and then the studio has a distribution deal. It's all different ways now. Kickstarter, Indiegogo, whatever. You know, it's a different world out there now.
Yeah, Dallas Buyers Club, Matthew McConaughey even kicked in some money because he wanted it done. You know?
I would also say if you're at all interested in investing in films, the three tenets of investing are, you know, risk, reward, and how much you trust the source of those two projections. And so, you know, if someone says to you, look, man, I need $2,000 from you, but I'm going to give you $20,000. You might say to yourself, I might lose two if I don't get my money back, but that's worth the risk, 20 grand. And if you believe this person, you probably jump right in. If it's somebody who's sketchy, you just keep your 2 grand in your pocket and say, I don't care how much you promise me, I don't believe you. And so as a filmmaker or a producer or a studio that's trying to get something done and you don't have the cash and you're looking for investors, you have to be just as savvy as an investor, and you have to be just as savvy as a producer to say, hey, look, you know, what are some of the things that are going to hedge some of that risk? Well, you might say, well, look, I'll give you not only so many dollars back, I'm going to give you X amount of points. I'm going to give you a credit in the film. I might let you act in the film and get you acting credit, IMDb credits. You may also give, and a lot of investors say, you know, what is your collateral? You know, some established filmmakers have certain amount of collateral that they don't really realize is collateral. Intellectual property today is collateral. And some of the things you might have made in the past that are done, that are in the can, might serve as collateral for your investment with an investor tomorrow. So you as a savvy investor might say, well, look, man, if I don't get my 5 grand back or I don't get my 2 grand back, I want 6 points on your last film and whatever it makes into the future. And that might be the collateral to pull you in as an investor. But you have to look at an investment as a, and I hate to be the guy up here who always sounds like, you know, I'm you know, E.F. Hutton, but, you know, I look at taking care of the business as freeing you up to do the art, right? Because I just watched the James Brown film, and he said, I'm the show and I'm the business. And I believe that. I mean, that's the quintessential meeting point. That's the top of the pyramid. And if you can get there, you'll be all right.
So actually, we're just about went way over time.
Yeah.
But one thing, I just wanted one final comment. I just want to ask each one, what do you know now that you wish you had when you started out? Start with Tony.
What do I know now? Try to barter more. Barter more. There's more people out there with talents that you can use than you realize. And it's not always about raising cash. It's getting people to believe in you and your vision.
Be able to take criticism. Everybody not hating on you. You know, it's like, it's just everybody's not hating on you. It's, you know, some people have an honest opinion, and it could, and if you're open to at least receiving it or taking what you need out of it and leaving the rest, it'll definitely help you. And don't have your best friend who don't do sound hold your boom mic. It'll destroy your picture. Two things.
That's a hard one to answer. I guess for the fourth meeting, it's about truly understanding the logistics of filmmaking, understanding how much time you're truly going to need, how much money you're truly going to need to make this movie, and if you don't have formal education, do it. I completely agree with Sergio. Watch films. That's how I learned how to direct prior to taking a directing class. Watch how they made their films, why they used a close up here, why they used a wide shot. Look and study films. That's the biggest thing that you can do.
Yeah, I guess just kind of to go off of that, then just planning more, take more time in pre-production, like from the point of concept, I would say, to really understand if this is feasible and if it's what you feel like is gonna actually fulfill your goal.
For me, I mean, I learned so much. I mean, that was my first film, so everything was just a lesson. And I took everything in, and like you said, criticism, I just couldn't take criticism, so that was like horrible. Get the feedback, you're like, but yeah, that was so important. It's everything that you guys said, and I think it comes down to really be true to yourself and really believe in yourself. Start from that, because I didn't believe myself in a long time, and it was that, it was really starting with believing in myself and have enough courage and trusting people, because film are not made, you're not going to make a film by yourself. It's all about collaboration, finding the right people. And that's key, because when you have that, it just makes the work easy and really enjoy it, because it doesn't have to be a stressful thing. It can be also fun. So, find a way to really enjoy the process and be patient, because I wasn't patient at all. I wanted everything to be done fast. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the patient part is really, really important, especially in post-production. I mean, I didn't know what I was putting myself into, so definitely.
Well, that's it, folks. Thank you so much. And give a warm round of applause for our panelists.